Hello there, and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about Vikings. So get ready to learn all about this fascinating topic. But before we begin, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos. Also stick around until the end, because I have a great quiz prepared for you that will test your knowledge about Vikings. Are you ready? Let's go. Vikings are a group of seafaring people who raided, traded, and explored across Europe from their base in Scandinavia from the late 8th to the mid-11th centuries. During their raids, they targeted monasteries and churches, as well as coastal towns and villages. The Vikings were known for their superior shipbuilding skills and seamanship, which enabled them to travel vast distances across the North Sea, the Baltic Sea, and even the Mediterranean. They used longships, which were sleek and swift vessels that could navigate shallow rivers and transport large numbers of troops and goods. These ships also had deep storage holds and were capable of withstanding rough seas, making them ideal for long sea voyages. With their advanced shipbuilding techniques, Vikings were able to establish a powerful navy that dominated the seas during their era. The Viking raids were primarily conducted by small bands of warriors who traveled light and lived off the land during their raids. These warriors were typically young, unmarried men who sought adventure and plunder. They carried weapons such as swords, axes, and bows and arrows, and wore protective clothing made from leather or chainmail. The Vikings also employed tactics such as surprise attacks and hit-and-run strategies to catch their enemies off guard and inflict maximum damage. Their raids were often swift and brutal, with Vikings killing or capturing as many people as possible and stealing their possessions. They targeted churches and monasteries because they were usually well protected and contained valuable treasures such as gold and silver items and jewels. The Vikings believed that these items had been cursed, but they stole them anyway because of their immense value. While the Vikings are often portrayed as ferocious fighters and ruthless raiders, it's important to note that they also had a strong sense of honor and values. They valued courage, strength, and loyalty above all else, and were known for their hospitality and generosity towards guests. Viking culture placed a strong emphasis on family and community, and members of the community were expected to work together to protect their way of life. This sense of community extended beyond their own people, as Vikings were known for their ability to form alliances with other groups and cultures. They were also highly skilled traders and merchants and established extensive trading networks across Europe, the Middle East, and even the Americas. In fact, the Vikings were responsible for bringing many goods to new markets, such as walrus, ivory from the Arctic to the Mediterranean. Viking raids played a significant role in shaping European history and had a profound impact on the political, economic, and cultural landscape of the continent. Their attacks on monasteries and churches led to the destruction of countless religious relics and works of art and the loss of countless lives. It forced the Christianization of Scandinavia. As the Vikings came into contact with other cultures, they began to adopt their customs and beliefs. For example, the Vikings in Scandinavia adopted many aspects of Christianity, including the belief in one God and the worship of Jesus Christ. This process of cultural exchange and adaptation is evident in the art, literature, and architecture of the Viking Age. Many Viking artifacts feature Christian symbols and motifs, such as the cross and the fish, while Viking churches and burial mounds reflect the influence of Christian traditions. In addition to their religious beliefs, the Vikings also adopted elements of other cultures into their own society. For example, the Vikings in Russia adopted the Cyrillic alphabet from the Byzantine Empire and used it to create the first written language of Old East Slavic. The Vikings also adopted various technologies and innovations from the cultures they encountered during their travels. For example, the Vikings in Britain learned the art of making steel and used it to produce high-quality weapons and tools. Despite the adoption of certain aspects of other cultures, it's important to note that the Vikings maintained their distinct identity throughout the Viking Age. They continued to speak their own languages, such as Old Norse, and to practice their own customs and traditions. However, the interaction between Vikings and other cultures led to a rich and diverse cultural landscape in Scandinavia. During the Viking Age, the region became a melting pot of different cultures and ideas, and Scandinavian art, literature, and architecture reflect this diversity. For example, the famous Viking shield, the Rosetta Stone, is a prime example of the fusion of Norse runes with Greek and Roman alphabets, reflecting the Vikings' exposure to different cultures through their travels. The Viking Age was a period of great exploration and discovery. As Vikings ventured far beyond their home territory in search of new lands and resources, they established settlements in areas such as Greenland, Iceland, and the British Isles, and they also explored the coast of North America long before Christopher Columbus arrived. The Vikings were known for their ability to navigate the seas, and their use of advanced shipbuilding techniques allowed them to explore distant lands that had never been seen by Europeans before. They also used celestial navigation techniques, such as following the stars and constellations, to help guide them on their travels. Overall, the Viking Age was a transformative period in European history, and the Vikings played a significant role in shaping the continent's politica, economic, and cultural landscape. Their raids, trade, and exploration had a profound impact on the people and societies they encountered and left a lasting legacy that continues to be felt today. Now let's take a look at some of the most famous Vikings in history. Ragnar Lothbrok is a legendary Viking warrior and king who is said to have lived in the 9th century. He is a central figure in Norse mythology and legend, and is often depicted as a larger-than-life hero with superhuman abilities. According to Norse legend, Ragnar was the son of King Eld I, and he inherited his father's throne in Denmark. He is said to have led his band of elite warriors known as the Shield Brothers on daring raids across Europe, pillaging on monasteries and towns and spreading terror among his enemies. Ragnar's exploits are said to have been recorded in a collection of Old Norse poems known as the Hervera saga, which was compiled in the 13th century. These poems tell of his battles with Anglo-Saxon forces in England, his capture of the French city of Paris, and his legendary defeat of the Russian giant serpent. Despite his legendary status, little is known about Ragnar's historical origins, and his existence has been the subject of much debate among historians. Some scholars believe that he may have been based on a real Viking leader, while others believe that he is entirely mythical. Nevertheless, Ragnar Lothbrok remains an iconic figure in Viking culture, and his story continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. Leif Erikson was a famous Viking explorer who is credited with being the first European to set foot in North America around 500 years before Christopher Columbus. Leif was the son of Eric the Red, who had been exiled to Iceland for killing a fellow settler. According to the Icelandic sagas, Leif sailed west from Iceland and discovered a land that he named Vinland, which is believed to be the first point of contact between Europe and the Americas. Leif's journey to Vinland is said to have been motivated by his desire to explore new lands and establish trading routes. He and his crew reportedly landed on the coast of Newfoundland, where they encountered the local indigenous people and explored the area for several months before returning home. Unfortunately, the sagas that recount Leif's adventures are often considered unreliable historical sources, and there is limited archaeological evidence to support his voice. However, some scholars argue that these sagas contain a kernel of truth, and that Leif Erikson did indeed make voyages to North America. Canute the Great was the king of Denmark from 1016 to 1035, and king of England from 1016 to 1035. He is known for having created the first North Sea Empire, which encompassed Denmark, England, and Norway. Canute was the son of Sweyn Forkbeard, who conquered England in 1013 and made Sweyn the first Danish king to rule over England. When Sweyn died in 1014, Knut succeeded him as king of Denmark and England. However, Canute's reign was not without its challenges. He faced opposition from various Anglo-Saxon nobles who sought to restore English rule in England. Nevertheless, Knut was able to maintain his hold on power, and he went on to conquer Norway in 1026, uniting the three kingdoms under his rule. Canute's empire was not only vast, but also prosperous. He promoted trade and economic activity across his domains and established a legal code known as the North Sea Law, which helped to ensure the safety of merchants and travelers in his empire. He was also a patron of the arts and learning, and his court was a center of intellectual activity. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on future videos. Take care, and see you soon!